Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and I'm sorry that I'm coming with this video so late, but we're here to break down a lot of the standouts from that Commanders versus Jets game, both good and bad. You can stand out in a bad way as well, man. We're here for 9 stock ups and 5 stock downs. That doesn't necessarily mean there were Super Bowl contenders, but I just had a lot more positive to take away than I had negatives. We'll get to that. Of course, we're breaking down after I watched a little bit more film on that Jets versus Commanders preseason game. I even have some advanced stats and grades for you as well from Pro Football Focus. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Y'all know me, man. I'm hitting y'all with daily content, and I'm assuming we should be practicing Monday. By the time y'all are watching this, it will be Monday as in today, so be on the lookout for later today a breakdown of whatever happens in that training camp practice that the Commanders have, if it's open to us for us to even know what happens. If we get any clips from it, if we get any information from it, of course I will break it down. But if we don't, I have so many video ideas and so much content just on the back burner that just know I'm coming out with a video later on today again. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video. Let's get it. Adam. And of course, y'all remember that Jaden Daniels paid homage to Doug Williams when leading up to that Jets game. He was walking through the stadium. He literally pulled up to the stadium, walked through the stadium, going to the locker room and everything in a Doug Williams jersey. That was really fire. But even after that, Fun Football Podcast asked on Twitter, Cam Newton isn't available. Who's the best dual threat quarterback in NFL history? Lamar Jackson answered himself with a video of Doug Williams and said that he literally had like a goat emoji and everything. So that's just more Doug Williams love before we get into these stock ups and stock downs. Now, of course, y'all know me. I prefer to get the bad out of the way first so we can end the video on a high note. So let's go ahead and start with the stocks down. Of course, just to do like an overall quick little synopsis, long story short, I'm not saying that when we do a stock down, that means that this person is just terrible. Cut them. Get rid of them. It's just, this is how I felt about you before the game. This is how I feel about you after the game. It just went down. That's it. It could be somebody that's even good. Like, I thought that you were great, but now I think you're good. Either way, it's just a stock down. So same thing for the stock up. Just because I give you a stock up does not mean that you're a Super Bowl leading player at your respective position. You're not an all-star. You're not a Pro Bowler or something like that. You just never know. I mean, you may not even necessarily be a starter. It's just I came into the game thinking you were here, and you end up showing me that you were here. Or it could even be a specific thing. It may not even necessarily just be a player, but we'll get to that. So starting with the stock downs, of course, I feel like Forbes is cornerback 1, like as far as being ready to go handle that week 1 against guys like Mike Evans. I feel like that's a stock down. Now, some people are, I feel like, over exaggerating big time with saying that we need to cut Emmanuel Forbes and things like that. I can see the argument for maybe, okay, maybe you want Benjamin St-Juste and Michael Davis out there as your starting corners when we go against the Buccaneers, especially since both of those guys are bigger and longer. They would probably have a better chance at going against a Mike Evans. They're all older as well. They're more veteran. They're more seasoned in slight ways. But that does not mean we should give up on Emmanuel Forbes at all. I've been seeing people say cut him. I thought that was crazy. And even so, I feel like, in my personal opinion, now, so far, I believe he still has the talent to do so, but so far as of today, he's showing that he may not necessarily be the cornerback 1. Maybe he should be cornerback 2. I know some of y'all feel like he may be cornerback 3. I feel like cornerback 2 somewhere safe. We'll see. I just feel like it depends on matchup too. Let him cover the faster guys. Let Benjamin St-Juste and Michael Davis cover the bigger guys like a Mike Evans when it comes to the week 1 matchup specifically. But I feel like a lot of people have not gone back and really watched the tape. Outside of that touchdown that he allowed, and I'm not going to lie, that was a bad touchdown. At the very least, you got to jam him or you got to flip your hips way sooner than what he did. Like, that was a really bad rep, and you allowed a backup quarterback throw a touchdown to a backup receiver who's not even sure to make the roster. Like, that's a terrible play. I'm not taking anything away from that. But if you actually go watch the tape, you literally pull up the game and only look at Emmanuel Forbes, especially if you have the all 22 copy, he was actually pretty solid outside of that play. But when you give up a touchdown, I mean, it's just a bad look. It's the same thing with offensive line. Corners go through the same exact thing. Some position groups are just going to be over scrutinized because same thing as corner. If an offensive lineman out of 50 snaps in the game, let's just say 40 snaps in the game, and they completely lock up an edge rusher for 37 of them, but then the 3 that they don't, they allow 3 sacks. Everybody's looking at them crazy like they're trash. You got to cut them and things like that. You allow 3 sacks in the game. Why wouldn't people feel that way? Same thing with corner. You can lock somebody up for 12 snaps. That 13th snap, you allow a touchdown, this guy needs to go. And that's pretty much the Emmanuel Forbes story. I'm not saying that he was perfect on all of his other snaps, but he was solid. And if he didn't allow that a touchdown, a lot of people would thinking far more highly of him right now, but it's more so the flashy play, the play that gets replayed all of the time, the play that goes viral on Twitter, that even NFL.com is retweeting Emmanuel Forbes getting cooked and things like that. So I feel like more so that's an over exaggeration, but I still feel like we need to include this in the stock down because maybe, just maybe, Emmanuel Forbes is not ready to start at corner, whatever you feel like, but cutting them is absolutely out of the question. I personally feel like cornerback 2 is solid with Benjamin St-Juste probably as your cornerback 1 for now. But again, I think it's matchup based. I think Emmanuel Forbes, whether it's the best wide receiver or the second best wide receiver or the third best, whoever, I feel like he should cover the faster, shiftier guys. Let Benjamin St-Juste cover Mike Evans week 1. It's completely matchup based though. Then next stock down, I have Jamin Davis' certainty as far as making this roster right now, because when he was out there with the starters, he actually looked pretty good. Now granted, the Jets had a lot of backups out there, we did too as well, but he was out there early in that game and he looked really good. He had 2 back-to-back run stops, and I mean, that's very impressive because if anything, Jamin Davis's route to making this roster, I thought as like an outside linebacker, a Dante Fowler type of guy, you need to be able to show you that you have some pass rush upside. You need to be able to use your quickness and elite athleticism to run around a tackle and get to the quarterback. That was my vision for him, but for somehow, this guy showed strength. He showed the ability to set the edge and completely stonewall a tackle back-to-back plays to make run stops. You could tell the Jets did that on purpose. Oh, Jamin Davis is over there? We're going to run it to the outside over his way because we know he can't set the edge. I didn't think he could before those 2 plays. Then he did it back-to-back. They tried him one time. He stopped it. They were like, nah, that's a fluke. There's no way Jamin Davis is setting the edge against an offensive tackle that weighs almost double his weight. There's just no way. Somehow he found a way to do it again a second time. So I was like, okay, Jamin Davis guaranteed to make the roster, dare I say maybe even get some playing time on Sundays. But then the reason that this is in a stock down is purely not because of how he played, but because of the fact that he was there for the last few minutes of the game. I mean, 4th stringers out there, guys that are fighting their hardest for a roster spot. He was out there with those guys, which made me start to question, is this guy really in danger of not making this team? Like I've said before, I feel like at the very worst, he can be a good depth at linebacker because he's not bad. People are overblowing how bad he was at linebacker. If he doesn't work out at edge rusher, I feel like at the worst, he's one of our 5, maybe even 4 best linebackers on roster, in my opinion. Because as long as he has a Mike linebacker next to him that can have the green dot, that can be the quarterback of the defense, making sure everybody is where they need to be literally the brain of the defense, the head of the operation, and he's allowed to play freely as a will linebacker, I felt like he was pretty good. You saw flashes with the way that he covered Bijan Robinson last year against the Falcons, things like that. So I feel like worst case scenario, if he's a depth linebacker, I think he's solid. He should make the team at least for that, but I don't know. We'll see. As of right now, I'm not too sure about his roster spot, especially compared to, like, say, going into the game, I was probably here. After those 2 run stops he had on the edge, I was like, okay, Jamin Davis up here. After I saw him out there with the backups of the backups of the backups of the backups, I had him down here for my stock. So he ended up resulting in a negative stock because I'm like, man, they got you out there with the people that we know not making the roster. And so and then on top of that, the fact that he was out there with those guys and we didn't necessarily see him flash immensely does worry me as well. And then next up, another stock down, I have Percy Butler's strength, and I thought this was a funny one I just wanted to include because, again, like I said in my breakdown after the Jets game, that I felt like, hey, man, even though he's getting run over by running backs, he's making the tackle. They're falling to the ground after he gets truck stick. That's better than what we can say for a lot of people out there missing tackles completely, just woofing on them, completely airballing, hand tackling. Jeremy Reeves took a bad angle one time. People just act like they didn't notice that. And I love Jeremy Reeves, but Percy Butler, at the very least, I know it's funny. you get ran over. It's kind of like the equivalent of somebody crossing you up, but then they missed the shot. Now they they crossed you up. It's hilarious, but it didn't result in any points. Technically, you don't necessarily get the last laugh, but hey, what you did worked. I don't know, whatever. And I feel like Percy Butler's strength is into question. That's why I'm putting it as a stock down. But at the very least, man, the guy went down. Like, he got ran over, but he showed at least enough strength for the guy to fall over. He didn't just get completely truck stick. He didn't get turned into a lead blocker like Derrick Henry did to Josh Norman that one time. So, I got to give him a little bit of credit there, but still at the end of the day, his strength is definitely in question. If he's our last line of defense and it's a big running back coming up, I'm worried. That's my main reason of including them in the stock downs. The guys went down, but there may be some times with the way that it looked like he got ran over that he may not be able to make those tackles like he did in that Jets preseason game. I wouldn't put my life savings on those guys falling down every time. And then lastly, for my final stock down, I have offensive line certainty, especially since the Jets didn't play a lot of their starters on the defensive line. Now, granted, our depth did look really good against their defensive line depth. Like, we had backup offensive linemen out there outside of our starting center and Tyler Biotic and our starting left guard and Nick Allegretti. Outside of that, straight backups on our end, but at the same time on the Jets end, pure backups as well. So that's why I'm like stock down on offensive line certainty, because it's really hard to evaluate and take any real come to any conclusions from what happened in that game, man. It's hard to know for sure if they're good enough to play on Sundays, even though they are backups and we hope that they don't. But we're dealing with injuries right now. Who's to say we don't deal with injuries during the regular season and the workload that they have to deal with in a 17-game season over the span of 18 weeks? So I am worried about the fact that these backups may not necessarily be ready, just because they look good out there against backups, but how do they look against other team starters? Because it doesn't matter if you're a backup or not. If for any reason you have to go out there on Sunday and we have an injury to an offensive lineman, so now you got to play, it's not like the opponent is going to be like, well, now their backup offensive linemen are in there, so let's throw out our backup defensive linemen to show them some mercy. No, you got to be ready to block against anybody. So I'm not saying the offensive line is bad. It's just stock down on offensive line certainty. Also, because we haven't, just for the mere fact that we even had those backups out there, we have an offensive line health concern right now. And I'm not really doubting our offensive line talent, honestly, like some people may be doing. I'm more so doubting that even if they get back healthy, how well connected and nuanced will they be as a unit by September 8th for that week 1 matchup against the Buccaneers? I keep screaming it. You can sign 5 all-pro offensive linemen in one offseason from 5 different teams, and they may go out there and struggle a little bit because chemistry matters immensely in the offensive line room. It matters so much with the guy to the left and the right of you, how y'all pass on stunts and things like that, how you point at who you're taking, who you're protecting. It's so much chemistry stuff, not even just amongst the guys next to you, but even your quarterback as well, the running back. How does your running back prefer for you to block? It's so many little nuanced things that inevitably take time. You just can't learn that very quickly. So we have less than a month for them to figure that out. I just don't really see it, because you saw that Andrew Wiley and Samuel Cosmi took till like the last 8 games of the season to finally get their chemistry down packed. But when they did, Samuel Cosmi looked like an all-pro, looked like the best player on the entire team. And Andrew Wiley went from being terrible, and why is he even on this team, to actually pretty decent, slightly above average, I would even say. I wouldn't necessarily say good, but that was purely chemistry based. Once they got that chemistry down on that right side, they were good. My worry is, how long will it take for this entire offensive line unit to get their chemistry down? Because even Andrew Wiley right now still hurt. So Samuel Cosmi's out there gaining chemistry with another offensive lineman that will more than likely not start week 1. So we got to get that going. We got to get back healthy as soon as possible. Now, moving on to the good news. Let's get to these stock ups. First of all, no exaggeration. If you go watch the all 22 footage of that game, shouts out to Mason Kinahan for uploading it and even including the arrows with it, Mike Sanders still looks like he'll be one of the best slot corners in the NFL before his rookie season ends. I mean, he looks that good. I saw him, honestly, I think he's going to end up running for Defensive Rookie of the Year. He may not win it because, like, naturally as a slot corner, a lot of people are not necessarily going to pay attention to you. It's way easier to win it as like an edge rusher or something like that. Maybe, who never knows? know. Maybe he makes enough run stops. Maybe he gets enough interceptions to actually show that he deserves it. But I feel like he's going to be one of those guys that does all of the dirty work to where quarterbacks aren't even necessarily targeting him. And so he's not able to get a lot of snaps because people are just afraid to even try him. So I just feel like he's going to be one of those guys that makes everybody else around him better, and he plays well, but he's not going to have the stats to be able to get awards like that. I feel like he's going to have to wait till Pro Bowls and All Pros for the guys that really know and watch football to see, okay, this guy has a large impact on this defense and is truly affecting how offenses perform. So stats wise, as far as winning defensive Rookie of the Year, I don't know, but Pro Bowls and stuff like that, I see a lot of those in his future. Because now, granted, he wasn't perfect in coverage, but he was great in coverage against the Jets. Again, if you're looking at the all 22, but even just beyond that, even beyond just coverage, because that's his main responsibility, even on top of that, he was shedding blocks to get to the ball carriers. When receivers and I think even a tight end one time tried to block him, he used his quickness to get around them and then some strength to kind of wall them off, and then he was able to make plays against the run. So he basically validated my thinking that he should play every snap possible unless he's tired. This is not a guy you sub out due to certain situations because he is small. So I know a lot of people are thinking 3rd and 1, take him off the field. No matter the situation, even on obvious running downs, I think you want him out there because this guy can make a play no matter if they're running the ball or passing the ball. This guy affects the game. I'm really excited. I think, honestly, if we had to rank him, I think Mike Sainristil is probably our most day one ready. Jaden Daniels may be like a close second, but I think Mike Sainristil, based off what I've seen so far, I think the quarterback position is just so complex. I think I just got to see a little bit more from Jaden Daniels to confirm that he's number one. He's basically 1B, though, which is still great for a rookie quarterback. But Mike Sainristil is more of a compliment to him than a jab at Jaden Daniels. Mike Sainristil is ready to go. He can start a game tomorrow and play well. I'm excited. Moving on, Ben Sinnott is going to be a deadly part of this offense. That's a huge stock up. Based on what I saw in training camp, what I've seen in training camp, heard from training camp, read in articles, seen from tweets and things like that, he's been good at times. He's had a few drops, so there's been that little bit of a worry there. And he's been good at blocking. He's been very physical, especially since we put the pads on. But I haven't heard anything about him really standing out and really shining, like being like a go-to target for Jaden Daniels, being a certified edge setter so the running back can make it out and do what he has to do, or even the versatility that I praised him for having coming out of college. I haven't necessarily heard or seen a lot about that as well. But he showed you what he could do in that preseason. First of all, let's get it out the way. He was our 3rd highest graded offensive player out of the entire preseason game from the Commanders versus the Jets. You had De'Ami Brown 1, Olamide, I got it right that time for the first time. That was my first time saying his name right the first time in a video. Olamide, Zacchaeus was 2nd, and Ben Sinnott was 3rd at an 87.2 overall grade. Even ranked higher, graded higher than Jaden Daniels, who's 4th right behind him with an 85. But that guy literally looked like a more athletic Chris Cooley. Chris Cooley said it himself. He looks like George Kittle. Remember Adam Peters, after we drafted him, coming right out of the draft, said that he looks like George Kittle mostly with a little bit of Kyle Juszczyk to him. And again, I'm gonna keep saying it. I know like that's a lot of praise and it's kind of like slow down. He's just a rookie. But you got to remember, Adam Peters was literally the guy that found George Kittle. He was the one that told the 49ers, take him in the 5th round. He's going to be great. So if there was one person on this planet that I trust to have an eye for talent and identify a guy and know this guy can ball, it's Adam Peters, and he's our GM. He selected him. You saw the behind the scenes footage for the draft. He was like, yeah, man, this guy's different. And Cliff Kingsbury was excited and things like that. But it seems like Adam Peters was his biggest fan, just like he was George Kittle's biggest fan before the 49ers took him and after they took him. So, hey, man, if Adam Peters believes in him, if Chris Cooley, a tight end himself, believes in him, I think it's time to get on that train so the stock is up. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm not saying that he's going to go out there and win a Pro Bowl this season, but he's going to have a large impact. You saw that. I told you in my breakdown of him after we drafted him how much yak yardage he's going to get, not because of his speed, but because he's just extremely difficult to tackle. You saw it take like 3-4 people to tackle up every time he touched the ball. Big playmaker. Give him the ball 20 yards down the field, he'll turn it into a 42-yard reception. You give him the ball 8 yards down the field, he turns it into a 15-yard reception. That's what he does. I love Zach Ertz, but Zach Ertz back in his prime gave you that yak, but he doesn't give you that right now. The advantage that Zach Ertz has over Ben Sinnott right now is the ability to get open. just on 1v1, using leverage, knowing his stems and things like that against linebackers and DBs. That's where he's most dependable, and I would argue that he has the better hands today as of right now. But Ben Sinnott today, I'll give him the yak advantage because, again, Zach Ertz is getting older, so he doesn't move the same way like he was punishing us when he used to be on the Eagles. And then I also give Ben Sinnott the blocking. But that just goes to show that this guy's going to play a lot. He may not necessarily be a starting tight end, but he's going to play a lot of snaps as early as week 1. I believe that, and I think he's going to have a big impact for us on offense. Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury are going to love him. Next up, speaking of Cliff Kingsbury, gotta stock up the play designs, man. Now, it is preseason, so play calling, that's really difficult. You know, it was pretty nice. He had a great run-pass balance. I like that. But, of course, it's very vanilla. The defense isn't game planning against you, and at the same time, you're not game planning against them. So he didn't even get deep in his bag. But from the little snippets, the little glances that we got of his bag, hey, man, it may be pretty deep, man. First of all, the Jaden Daniels opening drive that led to a touchdown, phenomenal. The read option to end it, allowing Jaden Daniels to even have the permission to, if he sees something at the line, change it. Don't even get permission. Go ahead and change it now. He trusts the quarterback. That's already there. That's one layer of it. But then even when the backup quarterbacks came out there, like there was that one play that Jeff Driscoll had where Cliff Kingsbury called a design run where Jeff Driscoll is supposed to run with the ball. That's literally designed. That's what he's supposed to do. And Jeff Driscoll picked up some good yards, did a good job of running it. But if you really look at that play and just think in the back of your head, if that were Jaden Daniels on that play, he probably takes it all the way to the house for a long touchdown. Like, it was a beautiful play design. He has some pretty impressive play designs there. And again, if that's what he's showing in the preseason, wait till he gets like elbow deep in his bag when he starts pulling out the phenomenal strategic stuff that we may not even have started really working on yet until like training camp is closed and we're preparing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after that preseason. In between that third preseason game between the Patriots and that first regular season game against the Buccaneers, that's when they're really going to start strategizing and game planning towards the Buccaneers specifically. I can't wait for them to get that deep. But just off of that little sample that we got, I'm thinking that we're going to really love Cliff Kingsbury's play designs. I'm not sure about the play calling yet, because play calling is a lot of situational stuff. Like, is it 1st and 10? Or did you call this play 2 times to set up another play because the defense is ready to stop play A? Now you hit them with play B to take advantage of the fact that they're worried about play A. There's a lot of things like that, a lot of nuance, and you already know he has a big problem, a big negative reputation on his hands. Like, second half of seasons, defenses figure him out and he never counterpunches. They counterpunch him, he never counterpunches back. So the jury is still out on that. But play design, ready to go, man. I'm really excited about that. Next up, another stock up. Frankie Louvu's going to be a problem, man. Straight up, man. His ability to get to the quarterback, him and Mike Sainristil, that 1 3rd down where they both combined for a tackle to force the punt was phenomenal. The way that Mike Sainristil was the most impressive player on that play. I should have brought this up when I was talking about Mike Sainristil. Very impressive. But Frankie Louvu was right there, just a step behind. So even if Mike Sainristil wasn't there, Frankie Louvu would have been credited with the sack and would have made the stop to force the punt as well. And that just shows that this defense is very ready to fly very fast, be very quick, and very physical. We have guys that are like, it's 2 guys getting to the punch, getting to the ball carrier. It's not just one with the chance of getting juked out of his socks and missing an open field tackle. We have 2 guys, so that just shows that we're flying around, we're instinctual, and we're ready to make plays. I love it. But either way, Frankie Louvu specifically, I mean, you could argue he was our defensive MVP from the Jets joint practice, and then the Jets preseason game, they didn't want him to play a lot, but the little bit that we saw, he was getting after the quarterback, everything, man. He was making run stops. I'm telling you, Frankie Louvu, top 5 linebacker stock, just keeps raising and raising. Remember, some people out there feel like he may be the 2nd best linebacker in the NFL, only behind Fred Warner, and he will be a part of the NFL's best linebacker core, I think, according to Mike Clay. So, Frankie Louvu, I'm telling you right now, buy that stock if you haven't already. It's probably already fairly high, but it's only going to get higher once everybody knows him and he becomes a household name. The only reason he's not already a household name is because he was playing for the sorry Carolina Panthers for so long and nobody really acknowledged him. And I believe he was an undrafted free agent coming out of the draft. So this is just a guy that a lot of people aren't aware of. A lot of people forget that he used to be on the Jets at first. So this is a guy that I'm telling you, stock is going to skyrocket. Speaking of another guy whose stock is preparing to skyrocket, and a lot of people were pointing it out during the live stream, and I wasn't trying to I told you so, but I mean, I've really been trying to tell people since March about my guy, Tyler Owens. I've been screaming since March. I've been giving you the athletic profile, the vertical, the broad jump, the 40 time, the explosion, the quickness, the speed, the arm length that's 96th percentile. This guy's a freak athlete alien, and now I give him a stock up for the fact that he'll make this team. And I love it. Just almost brings tears to my eyes to see other people saying, hey man, this Tyler Owens guy looks like he'll make the team. Hey, who is this Tyler Owens guy? This guy looks good. I'm so happy about that because I already lost one of my top 3 players that I'm most intrigued by this offseason, and Armani Rogers. Tyler Owens and Jeremy Chin are all I have left for the players outside of Jaden Daniels, obviously, but the players that I'm rooting for the most to have an impact in these training camps. Jeremy Chin to get that second contract, and then it was Armani Rogers and Tyler Owens to make the team. Armani Rogers is gone, sadly, to the enemy with a lot of my Georgia Bulldogs. The Eagles, man, they're really testing my patience. I hate the fact that I gotta root against my guys, but that is what it is. I'll never root for the Eagles under any circumstance, so y'all don't gotta worry about that, but it does hurt my heart to do it, man. It really does. But either way, Tyler Owens, stock going up for making this team, man. You saw him on special teams, elite, first of all. He also led all of our defensive players in snaps with 34. The guy in second place was Anthony Pittman with 31, then Dominique Hampton with 27, then Javonte John Baptiste with 25, and it just keeps going down and down and down. But again, Tyler Owens, just to repeat, played the most defensive snaps out of the team. Now, is that a good thing? Does that mean he's probably getting the same treatment as Jamin Davis, to where why are you out there with the backups of the backups? I'm not exactly sure if he was out there with severe backups like Jamin Davis by the end of the game, but I just know he played a lot. But also, he was our 4th highest graded defensive player, so he played a lot, but he looked really good. You know, the more you play, the more chances you have to mess up your grade. If anything, you kind of start with a good grade. The more you play, that grade tends to kind of get knocked down and things like that. I believe that's how they grade. It's kind of like you start here, and then every time you make a mistake, it gets deducted and things like that. So the fact that he played the most defensive snaps, but still was the 4th highest graded defensive player from that preseason game on the Commander side. You had Nick Whiteside, blew it out the water. I believe he only played 9 snaps, but he had a 90.6 grade. Elite. He should be a stock up just from that alone. But I didn't really remember noticing him in my film session. I got to go back and really pinpoint that. Maybe he deserves a stock up. Maybe I'll just give him an honorable mention one right now. But Mikael Walker at a 79.6. Mike Sanford still 3rd with a 79 grade out of all of our defensive players. Should have included that when talking about him. And then you had Tyler Owens with a 78.1, our 4th highest graded defensive player. I also want to say that this stock up is for, first of all, the main reason people noticed him was that one punt protection play where he went down there and made a really good tackle. I mean, he got down there like lightning and was on that punt returner before he even knew it. He was supposed to call a fair catch, but I guess he didn't know Tyler Owens was already there. He was like, how is he there this quick? He didn't call it, and Tyler Owens blew him up and tackled him easily. But Tyler Owens was everywhere on the field. I feel like this is another reason that he's a stock up, because he's showing versatility, and Dan Quinn and Joey Jr. have preached versatility. They love a guy that can be versatile. You can't get much more versatile than him playing free safety for 19 of his snaps. He was in the box for 6 of them, technically like a linebacker, I guess. He was on the defensive line, I'm assuming edge rusher for 7 of them. He was in the slot for 1, and then he was an outside corner for another. This guy played everywhere you could possibly play in the secondary, and then the fact that he did all of that and still escaped with the 4th highest graded defensive grade amongst our team is elite, bro. So Tyler Owens has chances of making his team, even beyond just the ceiling that he has that I've been screaming at y'all for months now. Even before the draft, again, I mocked him to us twice. You can go check the footage. You can go check the receipts. This has been my guy all along, and I'm just so happy that other people are seeing it. Not for the fact that I can say I told you so. I don't want any credit at all. All I want to see is Tyler Owens make this team and be successful. That's all I care about, because I'm telling you, I really believe in this guy's potential. He may still be raw as a safety, but he's showing you flashes right there. Next up, Braden Daniels' chances of making the team. I'm not going to say that the stock has risen immensely, but there's a slight raise right there because he looked really good out there. Granted, he was out there with the backups, but he was manhandling people. That Michael Wiley touchdown where he went in untouched. He could have moonwalked into the end zone. That was because Braden Daniels did a great job of sealing off the defender at right tackle. Maybe Braden Daniels is called as right tackle. I know the previous regime drafted him and tried to see if they could experiment with him as like a super raw but high ceiling boomer bust left tackle. And then so far through training camp, I've heard at times that they tried to use him at guard, but during that Jets preseason game, they used him at right tackle, and he stood out. He was arguably our best offensive lineman out there once the backups were out there. And that, again, I'm gonna keep saying it. When you're out there with backups, your main job is to shine and not look like a backup. You're supposed to look like you don't belong. You're supposed to look like you're supposed to be a little bit higher on the depth chart. And Braden Daniels did just that. We'll see if he makes the team. I'm not sure, but he definitely has a higher chance of making the team after that preseason game than he did before. Next up, Dyami Brown will for sure make this team. Let's talk about it. Because I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now that Dyami Brown will make this team. I even did a video and the title was Dyami Brown will make this team like over a week ago, 2 weeks ago, or whatever. And this game only helped his case. But even before then, in training camp so far, even before the Jets joint practice, he has been the third receiver out there. It's been Terry McLaurin, my fault, not Luke McCaffrey. I was hoping it would be Luke McCaffrey. And I probably should have included him in a stock down because honestly, just real quick, let's just go ahead and address this as a stock down. Let's add this to the list. Luke McCaffrey being ready to contribute as a day one receiver like week one, stock immensely down. Now, he did stand out with the backups, but he's not ready. Olamide Zaccheaus and Dyami Brown are for sure above him on the depth chart. You may even have Bryson Tremaine as of right now above him on the depth chart. We'll see where that goes. But either way, back to my point. Dyami Brown's making his team ever since training camp, basically. It's been Terry, Jahan, Dyami. I was very surprised. I was shocked when Olamide, hold on, it's Mr. Zaccheaus. Let's just, because my brain's all over the place. Olamide, got it. Olamide was above Dyami Brown on the first depth chart that they put out heading into that Jets joint practice. I was shocked because Dyami Brown has clearly been out there with the starters more than he has. Now, Olamide has been making a lot of plays in the preseason, and you saw that he looked like a really good punt returner for us, so I should have included him in one of the stock downs just for that as well. But Dyami Brown is definitely making his team, and then, that deep ball, granted, he didn't have any separation on that corner at all, and so shouts out to Jaden Daniels for making the perfect throw, but the fact that he still caught it, he just looked like a really good receiver out there. Making plays like that is how you increase your chances of making this team and playing on Sundays quite a bit. I would definitely say that our top four receivers right now, Terry, Jahan, and then neck and neck, Dyami Brown and Olamide Zaccheaus. But also, before we move on from Dyami Brown, like I said earlier, he was our highest graded defensive player, our highest graded player out of the entire team, defense, offense, whatever, with a 91 grade. But you know who was right behind him second? Olamide Zaccheaus with a 90.2. Those are your top two graded players from the entire day. So, hey man, those are your wide receivers 3 and 4 right there if you ask me. So now next up, second to last stock up, edge rusher depth, man. Javonte Jean-Baptiste and KJ Henry look like they will contribute as part of a solid rotation. Not just kind of make the 53-man roster, but we're going to play Dante Fowler, Cleveland Farrell, and Dorrance Armstrong all the time. Johnny Newton may even see some snaps at edge rusher. We're just going to avoid Javonte Jean-Baptiste and KJ Henry playing as much as possible. Nah, they look pretty good out there. I've been hearing about Javonte Jean-Baptiste really standing out in training camp in his length. And remember, Adam Peters and those guys drafted him. They didn't draft KJ Henry. Now, KJ Henry looked good in that preseason game. I'm expecting him to make this team because he's looked pretty solid in training camp, and he stood out at times and flashed, especially with the patience that he showed to make that one run stop in the backfield for a tackle for loss. And then Javonte Jean-Baptiste, you saw him making plays in that game. But Javonte Jean-Baptiste, if I had to say, is above KJ Henry on the depth chart, but they're both making this team. They look pretty good. And not only making this team, I think they'll play on Sundays as part of the rotation. I think they can trust them to do just that. I don't think them being on the field is a liability, and I'm very happy about that because I think both of those guys have a ceiling to them to where if we keep developing them, they could eventually, I think maybe Javonte Jean-Baptiste has the better chance of doing this, but I think eventually maybe Cleveland Farrell leaves. Ideally, best case scenario, Dorrance Armstrong is one of your edge rushers, and then Javonte Jean-Baptiste develops into a true starting NFL edge setter, edge rusher with pass rush upside. I'm really excited about that. And then lastly, Of course, we couldn't avoid talking about Jaden Daniels, and my fault from a few days ago. Remember, I didn't say that Jaden Daniels' stock was down in general. I just said maybe he may not be ready to go out there week 1 and lead us to a victory against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because again, against the Jets in that joint practice, you know, it was looking a little ugly for him. But I told you, the reason I gave him a stock up in the same video was because even though it was raining, even though his offensive line was getting obliterated by the starting defensive line of the Jets, the fact that he did not turn the ball over, and the fact that he was killing the Jets when there was no bad offensive line versus a great Jets defensive line, he was killing them in 7-on-7s. A lot of people just didn't talk about that against the Jets, but I still gave him a stock down. Like, maybe we need to just hold your horses. Maybe he's not ready to compete for Offensive Rookie of the Year just yet. I think he'll be good, but maybe we need to hold out on the fact that he'll go out there and immediately be a top 10, top 15 fantasy quarterback as of week 1. After that preseason game, I mean, I already did a full X's and O's breakdown of what happened on that play. But the fact that he looked at what the Jets were showing him, audible to a different play, looked off the safety, threw the perfect pass to De'Ami Brown. That's all I needed to see. That's literally all I needed to see. We can go out there and beat those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Even though they were a playoff team last year, I think we can beat them. I really do. He gives me that much confidence. I just can't see them stopping them. My only worry is the offensive line going to be ready? Are they going to be healthy? And even if they are they going to be ready? But Jaden Daniels himself, he's good enough to go out there and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm just worried about the team around him, more specifically the offensive line. But also, just before we leave, Jaden Daniels had a 85 overall Pro Football Focus grade, an 80.1 passing grade, 1 big time throw, and a 1.97 time to throw. And I'm assuming his grade suffered because they may be blaming him for that Austin Eckler incompletion that went way over his head. And originally I thought that it may have been Jaden Daniels' fault, but it kind of looked like a miscommunication when you really look at it. Like, maybe Jaden Daniels thought he was going to go one way, Austin Eckler thought something else. They weren't on the same page. I think that's what happened, but apparently Pro Football Focus, they watched the tape, they felt like that was Jaden Daniels' fault, and I feel like they faulted him for that, but he still ended up with an 85 overall grade. Jaden Daniels is ready, y'all. Just go ahead and buy that stock now. He's ready. We really got us one. I'm not saying Pro Bowler. I'm not saying top 5, top 10 quarterback immediately, but we got us one. I'm very, very confident in that at this point. That audible and that perfect pass is all I need to see. Do y'all remember? Do y'all know that was his second pass all game? That was his second preseason pass of his NFL career. First drive of the game, first drive of his first preseason game of his NFL career. He delivered the perfect ball like that. How can you not be excited, man? But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, man. I really appreciate y'all for all the support, man, for rocking with me, leaving likes. All of y'all that pulled up to the live stream, donated, left likes. I really appreciate y'all. All of the comments. I love the debating, going back and forth, all of that type of stuff, all of the analysis that y'all provide as well. I do not put myself on any type of pedestal above y'all, so I'm in the chat while watching the game like, oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. So I really appreciate y'all for that. Make sure y'all leave every comment you can in this video. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed. Do you agree or disagree with any of my points? Do you feel like I missed out on some stock ups and some stock downs that you would have awarded to players? Let me know all of that. I'm gonna try my best to find some time to read and reply to as many comments as I can, and make sure whatever you do not leave this video without leaving a like. I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.